As we're now, what are we now? We're like, was it with week 10? How has your habits changed? What is your betting card? Has it changed at all on these Sundays? Because one of the things that we keep pointing out on this show as the weeks have gone along, market's getting tighter. Like these numbers aren't moving as much from a side perspective. So do your habits change as the season goes along?
Yeah, certainly a little bit less volume as we get further and further into it. It's really changed this season in the fact that, I love Circa. Obviously, I'm representing, but there's other books opening up before Circus, so that's been my biggest change. There's had to been some phone calls back east where different books are opening up, like not just the marquee games, the 5-10 marquee games. They're opening up like 30, 35 different games. So I've actually done a little bit more volume there, or at least as much volume there as I've done on the Circa openers.
Looking at an individual game, we have some opposition here within the studio as far as what do we like of Arizona. The line actually opened UCLA minus 1 point favorites on the road, but now the line is ticked up to 3. Am I overvaluing Arizona in this spot?
No, I don't think so. 3 would be, I didn't even know. 1 was my number, so I didn't bet it on the open. I disagree with that initial move. So at 3, I would take Arizona. I don't think you're overthinking it. I mean, this is a team that now it's been multiple weeks where they've really showed out. You go back to the USC performance where they should have won on the road. They dominate Washington State. They just, legitimately beat a really good Oregon State team. I mean, I can make a case that this might be right now the second best team in the Pac-12 behind Oregon.
Yep. So when we look at some of these spots, it's going to be pretty interesting because you do, I think, have some interesting home underdogs. The other is, what's your opinion on Bedlam and what we're going to see here? Because Oklahoma State's been phenomenal. They've been operating at a really high level. And Brad, I was kind of making the case because I had bet Kansas yesterday that Oklahoma's kind of showing us the last couple of weeks that they're really not as good as the market thinks they are. Struggling with UCF, losing that game yesterday. What do you make of Okie State catching about 6 at home?
Yeah, well, I tried to hit the send button on Oklahoma minus 4. I was expecting to bet Oklahoma State, but 4 I thought was a really short number. Someone beat me to the punch there. So honestly, anything under a touchdown, I made it 7. I would lean towards the Sooners. I think, it's not setting up perfectly for Oklahoma State. The fact that Oklahoma's already lost, had they snuck by and pulled that one out against Kansas, I think that would have been the best opportunity to jump in on Oklahoma State. But I got to play my numbers. Numbers say Oklahoma 7, so I'm leaning Sooners right now.
I know I've asked you this question a bunch, but for our audience maybe who hasn't heard the answer, with a guy like you who has your numbers, your ratings, and you go by that, how much do you factor in spots in situations like this, losing a game that effectively knocks you out of national championship contention? Do you factor that in at all, or you're just purely, this is my number, this is what I'm playing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as much of a situational guy as I used to be. There's probably 3-4 a week that I'll look at to take advantage of. I don't think Oklahoma's out yet just because they lost. I mean, if they went out there, they're going to be in the playoff as far as I'm concerned. I think the Big 12's, I mean, if they beat Texas twice, I mean, that's going to be a feather in their cap as far as I'm concerned. So, but situationally, maybe 3 or 4. The winner of last week's Kansas-Oklahoma game is a team that I was looking to play against. I was looking to play Iowa State. Just fading Kansas off a big-time win. But Circa pretty sharp there, opening Iowa State as a favorite.
Yeah, I don't think Kansas is going to be too focused after throwing the goalpost in the lake.
No.
A little letdown.
Brad, you did a tweet about the best over teams, and you have LSU ranked up at the top, 8-0 to the over, but they are going up against a much better. This is probably the best defense that they will be playing against in Alabama. What do you make of this matchup, and do you expect another over?
You know what? I didn't bet the total yet on that one. It's tough. You're exactly right. This will be by far the best defense LSU's faced. But I got to tell you, in today's day and age of college football, I think great offense beats great defense. So where did that lead me to? I bet LSU plus 4.5. Somebody beat me to the punch again. Took the 6. I certainly agreed with that. But I'll take LSU. I know it's on the road. Alabama's got revenge, but I just trust that LSU offense, I think, is the best in the country. It's better than Washington, better than USC's. I like what I've seen from them all year.
Now, sticking to this, I wanted to ask, because you're talking about offenses, and I'm actually a little bit indifferent right now about Michael Penix Jr. right now. He has 2 touchdowns in his last 4 games. 2 games throwing for 0 touchdowns in his last 4. What do you make of this offense? This is another high-scoring defense from USC. I expect another over. Are you in agreement with me?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the highest totals we've seen in college football this season, but I'm not in no hurry to bet the under in the USC-Washington game. Michael Penix, what do I see? Well, I can be honest with you. I'm going to go back to the Oregon game. At the end of the game, he didn't look healthy. Looked like he was a little bit banged up, and he's done nothing to prove that different. The last 2 weeks against two cream puffs, it just hasn't looked the part. So I'm not sure that he's 100%. Again, this is pure speculation on my part, but because he's not 100%, I'm not running the window to bet Washington against an overrated USC team. And man, that total being that high at 77, I can't get there. I'm just not built. I'm not built being a Midwest guy betting a bunch of over 77s.
Mm-hmm. So I'll ask you this, because we were talking about this, and I'll bring it back to like the NBA stuff, right? You know, the other day, Kings and Jazz are playing. It's a 1-point spread, but the total's like 239, 240. No reason to bet that side pre-flop, because a volatile game like that, you're going to get a better number in game. Could you have the same philosophy here with USC Washington with a high total like this? Could it get that volatile where you'll get a good opportunity in game at some point for whoever you want?
Yeah, it's incredibly sharp. That's one of the sharper things I've heard this season. So yes, absolutely. Any of those high total games, high variance type games, you want to. It's an in-game live situation. In fact, I mean, if you want to bet the over, maybe it starts off a little bit slow, and then you go ahead and jump in on the over.
All right. So let me ask you this. I think this will be a fun question. If I were to force you to choose, would you rather bet under 77 for Washington and USC or over 29.5 with Iowa in this matchup this weekend? What do you think?
I bet the over 29.5.
Yeah, all right.
I did bet that. Yeah. I just think, look, I know Iowa games always go under, but you need perfection to go under. You can't have turnovers. And, obviously Iowa's capable of turning over. And plus, Iowa's defense can create offense, or their special teams can create offense. So I did bet over in that one.
I am consistently wrong on Georgia. Are you now a believer that this is indeed...
Well, don't put words in his mouth. Now a believer. You don't know if he was or wasn't beforehand.
No, you are correct. Are you a believer that, yes, this is the number one team in the country right now, despite not having Brock Bowers? And can Missouri contend against them? At least keep pace, because this is going to be the best quarterback that Georgia defense has faced.
Well, I'm not a big enough believer to have them over Michigan. So I got that in Georgia number 2. Obviously, it did like what I saw coming off the bye against Florida yesterday, but they did not surpass Michigan in my power ratings. Do I believe them enough this week? I do. I laid 15 with Georgia. I just think Missouri's taking a step up in class here. I know they're off a bye, but that's a really tough place to win. So I just don't think that Missouri has it.
We were talking with Matt Grill earlier, and he echoed the same thing. I think he told us he would have Georgia about a 3-point underdog, maybe a little less than that to Michigan. What would you make it right now?
Yeah, 2.5, 3 points. Michigan favored.
Man, I cannot wait to watch it. I mean, because my whole thing with Michigan is their schedule has been this, but they've been so dominant, so I can't completely ignore what they've done up to this point. So either way, I think they're going to take care of Ohio State. So let's go there really quickly before we get you out of here. Ohio State Rutgers. When you were looking at this matchup, I thought 20. I saw an opener of 20 that seemed kind of high. I think Rutgers might be pretty live here. What do you make of this? Because I think we're down to 18.
18 is where I made it. So it was another game where I hit the, let me bet Rutgers, and somebody beat me to the punch. So yeah, I think Rutgers has been a story that nobody's talking about already at bowl eligibility here before November even starts. Greg Schiano's done a really good job with this team. Slow tempo, tough for Ohio State to get margin, and Kyle McCord's banged up at quarterback. Yeah,
Rutgers and UNLV, very similar programs. Bowl eligibility, very strong seasons. Nobody's talking about them. All right, I lied. I do have one more for you. We should ask you about this. Notre Dame and Clemson. I have to pull myself away. I feel like it's a spot to I'm trying to laugh. It's a spot to buy low on Clemson plus 3.5 at home.
Yep, I made the 3.5. It opened 1 Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Somebody said, "Hey, Notre Dame, Fighting Irish." I was like, I'll let you guys bet that. I'll take the hook. This will be the biggest home underdog roll for Clemson in over a decade. Give me the Tigers.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.